Welcome to Know Before You Buy. I have sitting here next to me on the table a box for a Tovala oven. This was generously sent by Tovala for me to review. I will give you both pros and cons as we go, but we'll start with our standard unboxing. So I am going to just cut into the box. This is a little bigger than I was expecting, but maybe it's a lot of packaging. We still don't know that. So now you might be asking, what is a Tovala? A Tovala is a toaster oven-like device that is a steam oven as well as a toaster oven, but it has a clever feature in that it has a barcode scanner, and I'm not clear yet if the barcode scanner is on the oven itself or in the app, that if you use the barcode scanner to scan food packages, currently specifically from Tovala or from Trader Joe's, it will know what the oven should be set at. It will, put the temperature at the right place. If the temperature needs to change at any time throughout the cooking, it knows all those things and it sets your oven, so it's basically a scan it and go type device. This is a very useful feature for people who maybe don't like to cook, or people who just don't have time in their life and they want to scan, they just want dinner when they need it. So I'm now holding the oven, through the handle and trying to get it out of the box. It is quite large. It is very firmly packed in here, so it's resisting me. So I think I'm going to just set it upside down on the table and pull the oven out, or box off of the top of the device. Voila! Okay. That was interesting. What was that? I have no idea what that was. All right, so it's a good thing I opened it from the bottom first, because here we have, looks like a standard oven rack and a cookie sheet that goes inside. And the cookie sheet, I'm noting, is not the same size as the rack like most toaster ovens. It is slightly smaller. But we'll just put that aside for now. And I'm just going to pull the styrofoam off the one end. And around here, got the styrofoam off the other end. Flip it upside right. Taking the plastic wrapping off. And voila, here we have our oven. We will come back in a couple of days when I've had a chance to play with this. I've now had this Tovala oven for, I think about 3, maybe 4 weeks, and I'm ready to tell you about it. The too long version did not read is that this thing actually has some really good accessibility features built into it. But, and there's always that but, isn't there? The but is that the whole process, and it's not an accessibility issue, but the whole process I think is a little rushed, and I think they need to spend a little more time examining how people use it and think about the whole application a little bit, and go through and maybe do some focus groups with their users, because there are some things that are definitely wrong with the unit that are accessibility barriers, but some of them are just usability errors. So on that note, let's get started. Okay, so I have determined that an 8x8 Pyrex bowl can fit in this, but a 13x9 cannot. So that kind of gives you, it's larger than most, but it's not, you can't put a full cookie sheet in, for example. If we open it up here, we have a rack that the food will sit on, and it has 3 full height settings, so that if you want to bring something up close to the broiler, you can, or cook something directly in the center of the oven so that the steam surrounds it really nicely. The cookie sheet they provide is a very nice, durable cookie sheet. It fits in with gaps on all 4 sides, so that the steam can surround the food really nicely. I have tried some Trader Joe's food with this, and I had the same item and I cooked it twice. Once on the container within the Trader Joe's, that was a quiche that I was cooking, and the container that Trader Joe's provides can be put in the oven, can be used in a toaster oven. It did not cook as well when I actually used the Trader Joe's provided paper little container, the high heat proof little paper container. It did cook properly when I put it on this tray. So this tray, I think, it's as heavy as it is, not because they're giving you good quality, but I think it needs to actually maintain the heat in it, and that's what it's doing with this cookie sheet. So, the first quiche I made, the outer edges burnt and the center was still cold and slightly frozen, but the second one turned out perfect. So, there's the oven part of it itself, and let's go to our right-hand side controls. At the very top, we have where the water goes in, and the water goes in for steam. And then below that, we have a little arrow symbol that's very tactile. It's actually feels like a diamond really, but it is an arrow pointing down towards the counter. And that is because that is where the barcode scanner was. Then we have our control buttons, and I have not learned the pattern of them yet, but they are very tactile. Very top, I believe, is bake, and the bottom left at about 7 o'clock is steam. I've not learned what the rest of these are, but they are very tactile, and we can push any of them really easily. Just push, we get a good beep, good solid beep, and I can power it off. Below that is a left and right scroll toggle with a circle in the middle. These only work when you turn something on, so we'll turn that on. I don't even know what I turned on. And I can up and down the numbers. Once I learn what those controls are, of course, it'll be better for me. So this is temperature up and down, and this is darkness for toast, for example, up and down. So let me show you now the really nice usability feature they created. So remember during the unboxing, we had the cup that came with it. And I'm like, what's this cup for? Well, it turns out the cup is what you use to pour the water into the steam compartment. So you lift the lid from the little cap over top, bring the cup to the opening, and just begin to pour in. And what I want you to do is listen while I do this. And there we have a series of beeps that happened when the device was full. Very nice. I love that, and it actually is something that's not an accessibility feature because a sighted person wouldn't know it was full either. So it beeped once, and then it beeped rapidly to tell me that it was actually reaching its level. I am a little concerned about the proximity of this to the barcode scanner. I'm wondering how carefully they've protected the barcode scanner from the water and shorting out and so forth. It might be nice if it had a little bit more of an outward projection. You'll see I got some water on the top of my unit. I got a little bit of water in the front of the unit here on the counter, but otherwise pretty good. I really like that. Don't change. Keep that auto water fill indicator. That's lovely. I want to talk about the pot holder that came with this. I mean, a nice gesture, but it's not a good pot holder. You'd be better off getting your own oven mitts. So I'm not sure you can see this, but let me describe what's happening. This is a square piece of insulated material, like a standard pot holder. And on the back of it, they've sewn an extra sheet of cloth. Now, that's where the problem lies with this particular pot holder, is that it's not something that's meant to be insulated for your hand on the back. It's only on the front. So I think the sighted viewers can probably see my hand through the back, but you can't see the shape of my hand through the front. And the very first time I used this, and other subsequent times, as I was reaching into the oven, and I'll do it on the top here, the pot holder twisted on my hand, and instead of the insulation portion touching my hand, I had that thin back layer, and I did burn myself through the actual pot holder. So, you know, a real oven mitt, there's a reason they're insulated on both sides, because say I didn't have it twist around and I was reaching into the oven like this, and I put my hand up like this, I could touch the top of the oven with the uninsulated portion of this pot holder. Yeah, maybe I'm being a little nitpicky, but you know, you have to know before you buy. So there we go. We've got all that ready to go. The oven is beautiful. We'll be back. All right, so I've got an iPhone here with the Tovala app on the screen, and I'm just going to show it to you. It always starts in the order tab. Remember, Tovala's primary motivation with these is to get you to order their meal plans. The meal plans are pretty good. They're reasonably priced. They're not cheap. They're not expensive. But if you are a cook, you're probably not going to want their meals. You're probably going to maybe just want the oven for some of its other features. But let's go through it really quickly here.
Tab bar, bottom of screen. View order history, button.
So I'm starting at the top, and it starts with view order history. We don't want to do that. You don't need to see what I ate.
My orders, heading. Next up, heading. Deliveries paused, June 19th.
So
A photo containing a plate. Marketplace, heading. See all, button. New flavors added. Happy National Pretzel Day. Limited quantities. Premium seafood. Star new Star sweet trip. Just bagels NYC. Eastern Standard Provisions Pack.
So these are the specialty items that you can order.
Choose your own hot cakes. 8 get Maine lobster tails. 7 Sister Scone 6-pack. Learn more, button. Learn more, button. Learn more, button. Learn more, button.
And you'll see
Goes to next step to view the item.
And then see, we've gotten lots of learn mores here.
Learn more, button. Go, learn more, button. Goes to next step to view the item.
And so that is for each of those items. I believe what they're doing is showing those vertically on the screen, but in the tab order, those, or in the swipe order, depending on how you want to look at it, the items are all listed, and then the learn more on each of those items is listed as well. Okay, so we've now gotten through all those learn more buttons for the promotional items. So the next swipe.
Upcoming, heading.
The upcoming deliveries that are possible.
Deliveries paused, June 26th, button. A photo containing a quinoa, a hummus, a plate and a tabbouleh.
So it said a photo containing a quinoa, a hummus, and a tabbouleh. Well, that's a great image, but you'll notice that that was the auto recognition that told us that. And that happens to be the featured item for this week. So I'm going to just tap on that week.
My orders. My orders. Back button.
And it put us in the next screen, but it read the title of the previous screen with the back button, which is okay.
Arrives Monday, June 26th. Heading.
So this will arrive Monday, June 26th.
Use compact view. Menu filters. Button. Use compact view. Button.
So you can choose either compact view or extended view. I'm going to give you the extended view first.
Menu filters. Eat your veggies. Image. A variety of food items on a table. Eat your veggies.
And that's not an item you can order. It's just promotional.
Garlic herb salmon. With spinach, tomato, quinoa, and red wine vinaigrette. Plus $2.99. Tagged with premium. Calorie smart. Gluten friendly. Carb conscious. Button.
So it gave you a lot of details about that, which I really like. It gave me all those details previously in other versions of the app. It used to give those as individual swipes. I like those as all in one item.
View meal details. Button. Image. A white plate with a piece of meat, quinoa, and other ingredients.
And view meal details. You're only able to know that because of the auto description giving you a description of what the image is on that button. It would be much better if it was actually, you could click on the meal itself to get the details and add it to your order, but you cannot. So I'm going to just click this.
In progress. Tagged with premium, calorie smart, gluten friendly, carb conscious.
So those are all searchable tags that you can look for. The calorie smart, the gluten conscious. You can say, just send me stuff that, hits one of those or all three of those tags.
Garlic herb salmon with spinach, tomato, quinoa, and red wine vinaigrette.
So that's a description of the dish.
Quick entree button. Description heading. We're firmly in the garlic makes everything better camp, so it was a given for us to make this garlic herb rub salmon fillet. It's seasoned with garlic sharpness, along with mellow, earthy onion and bell pepper, plus enough salt to complement the fish's natural richness. Enjoy it with a simple quinoa with spinach and tomatoes and red wine vinaigrette. Finish it all off with a sprinkle of punchy caper red pepper relish.
So you'll note, pretty promotional advertising.
Enjoy before Monday, July 3rd.
And then it warns you to only keep it for a week in the fridge.
Nutrition heading. In the box heading. Collapsed.
And then
Double
there's
tap
a
to
bunch.
expand.
There's a bunch of accordion items that you can expand and collapse. You can figure out what's in the box. So you'll notice that all these items here are
Nutrition heading. Collapsed.
expand
Double tap to expand.
collapses. And you'll be able to expand any of these items if you want to. And most importantly, you can actually look at
Enjoy before Monday, July 3rd. We're firmly in the garlic. Enjoy nutrition heading. In the box heading. Ingredients heading. Collapsed.
So you can look at
Double
in the
tap to
box
expand.
to tell you what the different packets are that come with the item, and you'll see that later as we go through the actual packaging, that there's a whole bunch of different elements in each box that you have to identify. So having that in the box to go back to is actually really important.
Allergens heading. Collapsed.
Allergens,
Double tap to expand.
you should look at that before you actually order.
Preparation steps heading.
And
Collapsed.
this is really important, the
Double tap to
preparation
expand.
steps. So I'm going to expand this.
Preparation steps heading. Expanded. Separate the nested aluminum trays. Remove the plastic film on the spinach, tomato, quinoa tray. Open the vacuum sealed salmon fillet, no skin, and place it with the flat side down in the extra tray. Sprinkle the garlic herb rub on the salmon. Put both trays in your oven and scan the barcode. Then press start.
And that's perfect. It gave you every step, which thing you had to do, where you had to put the items. The salmon went in a separate tray, not on top of the quinoa, etc.
Remove your food from the oven and let it rest for 2 minutes. Toss the quinoa with the red wine vinaigrette. Then transfer everything to a plate. Optional, for bright, punchy finish. Drizzle the caper red pepper relish on top.
And you'll see that it did tell you that you put the vinaigrette on at the end there, not at the beginning. So those are all really critical factors. So I'm just going to go back now to the main page.
Eat your veggies.
Come on, go back.
Next up, heading. 141p, my orders, heading.
And we've got a series of tabs across the bottom. It always starts, no matter what you did last, the application always opens up on the orders. I wish it would open up on the oven, but it opens up on the orders.
Support, tab. Cooking, tab. 3 of 5.
And so we're going to start on the cooking. This is if you're not using their meals and you have pre-planned menus that you want, or if you just want to cook, say, a Trader Joe's meal, you would come to this tab.
Search, button.
There we go, right up to the top now.
Search, button. Oven, button. Chef's recipes, heading.
Chef's recipes, which is their recipes that you can follow.
Cook easy recipes from scratch. Game day favorites, heading. See all, button. Bacon wrap dates, button.
And so these are some samples.
See all, game day cook easy recipes from scratch. Chef's recipes, heading. Oven, button.
So I'm going to go, I swiped backwards and I'm going to click on the oven button.
Oven, heading. Scan barcodes and create your own recipes.
So this is where you scan barcodes from, say, Trader Joe's or a couple of the other grocery store lines that they carry. And they do carry quite a few, and you can look for those in the app as well.
Scan a barcode, button.
So you'd click this and then the camera becomes active for you to scan a barcode. This works better than using the oven barcode scanner. So if you wanted to use this on the Tovala boxes as well, you could. It works much, much better because you have a much easier access to where the barcode is and you don't have to get it precisely under that little scanner.
Create a new recipe, button.
And I'm going to create a new recipe for you.
Create a new image.
So I've got it to
An orange
create,
logo on a white background.
and it gives me an orange logo on a white background. And I get that a lot in this app, and I'm not really sure what they're trying to do. But I think those are bullets, is what we've determined.
Bake 350 degrees Fahrenheit.
So we've got the option, we can bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. That is the default bake for any oven. If you want to bake a cake, chances are it's 350 or 375.
5.
Then it's got 5.
Add step. Button.
Then it says add step. So the 5 is the time.
Cook. Button.
And then the cook button.
Tab bar. Order. Tab.
So if all I wanted to do was 350 degrees for 5 minutes, that would be all I'd have to do. So let's see if I can change this. I might be too far away from the oven and then it won't let me change anything at all.
Cook. Button. Add step. Button. 5.
Let's try and change the time.
Double tap to dismiss pop-up window. Button.
And it gave me a pop-up.
Add a cook step. Close. Button. Image. A line of orange text against a white background.
So it told me a line of orange text, but it didn't actually identify what the text was. An auto-describe should be able to do that, but it must be too blurry.
Convection bake.
Convection bake.
Image. An orange logo on a white background. Steam. Image. An orange logo on a white background.
So there we go. We've got the different types of cooking we can do, and we just choose one of those. I'm going to choose the convection bake.
Steam. Image. Broil low. Image. Convection bake. Convection bake.
Convection bake.
Image. An orange logo on a white background.
You'll note that it doesn't tell me that it's already checked.
Convection bake. Image. An orange logo on a white background.
That one does read it once.
Convection bake. Image. An orange logo on a white background.
That one read once, so there's no differentiation. None of these things tell me what I've selected.
Steam. Image. Broil low. Image. Broil high. A fast, even heat using the convection fan. Combine steam with convection baking. Best for searing, browning, or crisping with high heat.
So it's giving me, a little bit more promotional information about what the steps should do.
Best for searing, browning, or 350 degrees F. Picker item. Adjustable. 26 of 46.
So now we have the
Swipe
actual
up or down with one finger
temperature.
to adjust the value.
So remember I said most bakes would be at 350 or 375. So I'm just going to adjust this. I'm going to go down. I'm going to swipe down.
345 degrees F. 25
And
of 46.
it's literally lowering the temperature. So the swipe follows the right direction.
330 degrees F. 325 degrees F.
And I'm
21
going
of
to bake.
46.
I'm going to bake this at 325.
10. 5. Picker item. Adjustable. 20 of 64.
So now I've got the
Swipe up or down
5,
with one finger
and
to
it's,
adjust the value.
and it's also a picker, so it's time.
5. 30. 21 of 64.
And I'm swiping up to increase the time.
6. 22 of 64.
So it goes up by 30 seconds. So I'm going to just swipe it down to 30 seconds.
5. 5. 4. 4. 4. 4. 3. 3. 3. 3. 2. 45. 11 of 64.
Interesting. So what it did there was, if I got below 5, it went by quarter minutes, not half minutes.
3. 12 of 64. 3. 15. 13 of 64. 3. 30. 14 of 64.
So you'll see that instead of doing, it did 5 minutes, 5:30, then it went to 6. Now that I'm below 5, it goes to 4, well, let's see what it is, sorry.
3. 4. 4. 15. 4. 30. 8. 4. 45.
Yeah,
19 of 64.
It does 4 minutes, 45 seconds, 30 seconds, 15 seconds. So it's going down by quarters, only below the 5s. If you wanted to do 6 minutes, 25 seconds, you can't. I'm not sure that's the best way to do it, but this is how they do it, and it is very accessible. So we're going to give it to them.
Time. Done. Button.
And I'm going to hit done.
Done. Oven. Back button. Edit. Button. Info. Button. Favorite. Add step. New recipe. Heading. Image. An orange logo on a white background. 3 exclamation marks.
There's our first bullet.
Convection bake 325 degrees Fahrenheit.
Aha, and it did set it to exactly what I wanted it to be set to.
4:45.
And 4:45 seconds, perfect.
Add step. Button.
And then I can add an additional step. So if you're using the steam, you may want to steam for the first 5 minutes and then bake for the next 10 or vice versa. You can do all that. But I'm not going to show you any more on this because I don't want to turn my oven on because I have nothing in it right now. All right, so now I have my Android with the exact same app up. And
Next up. My orders.
And you're going to notice that there is a lot of very similar features and functionality here. So we've got, My Orders is the very top.
Settings. Tab. My orders.
So there we are at the very top, My Orders.
Past orders. Button.
Past orders.
Next up. Sign up for deliveries. June 19th. List. Button.
And
Double tap to activate.
I don't get those promotional items here. The app is both logged in. They should be giving me the same thing. They do not. but we'll write to the June 19th delivery. We'll go to the June 26th one like we did previously.
Upcoming. Sign up for deliveries, June 26th, list button.
I'm going to click
Double
that.
tap to activate. Tovala. Navigate up button. Filters button. Pause Monday, June 26th.
And it's telling me that it's paused because I've suspended my orders.
Sign up for deliveries. Pause Monday.
And I can't look at the orders because I'm paused. It's not even going to let me look at the menus. So they're not able to advertise to me to convince me to get my orders back. I'm just going to go back.
Back button. Tovala. Double tap tap. Sign up for deliveries, July 10th. Delivery canceled button.
We're going to just
Double
try
tap to
looking
activate.
at that one just to
Tovala.
see if it will be any
Navigate back
different.
button. Week of 7/10. Delivery day. Skip delivery button. Monday 7/10. Thursday 7/13. Meals for delivery. 8 button. Double tap to activate.
So I can go through my delivery settings, that it's delivery date on the Monday, or I could switch to Thursday. It tells me that I get 8 meals for delivery because that's what I had chosen for the two of us. That's 4 meals each a week.
10 button. 12 button. Double tap to activate.
And this is the additional meals I could order. It comes in a really big box if you order over 8, trust me.
16 button. Meal cost. $51.96. Shipping. $9.09. Estimated total. $61. Update order button. Disable.
And you'll notice that I still can't go through and check the meals.
Back button. Tovala. Sign up for.
It's the exact same account on my iPhone, but I'm able to look at what the meals are and they're able to advertise to me. Again, we have our tabs across the bottom.
Order. Back. Order. Tab. Selected.
And we're in the orders tab, so we're going to go to the oven tab or the cook tab.
Marketplace. Tab. Cooking. Tab. Cooking.
We hit the cooking.
Showing items 1 to. Search. Recipe. Recipes by ingredient.
And so here's where I can do a search, just like on the Apple one. And this one actually tells me I can search by ingredient, which the Apple one did not, but that's what we assume we can do there.
Chef's recipes. Oven button.
I'm going to just hit the oven button, which is the second swipe from the top.
Tovala. Navigate up button. Oven. Access cook cycles you've recently used, favorited, and saved.
So that's all my previously cooked cycles that I want to use. I'd sometimes just like to set a cycle and let it go and not have to worry about remembering it. Or if it worked at the end of the meal, then remembering it. But they're pretty fixated on having everything programmed in and saving every single recipe you've done if it worked or not.
Scan grocery barcode. Double tap to activate. Create cook cycle. Double tap to activate.
So you'll notice that those are 2 buttons and neither of them actually tell me they're a button. They just tell me I can double tap to activate them.
My recipes. See all button. My recipes. Create cook cycle.
So I'm going to create a
Double tap
cook
to
cycle
activate.
for you just like I did on the Apple.
Tovala. Progress bar. New recipe. More options. But cook button. 0-100. Total time.
So total time is 0 minutes.
Save cycle. Add step. Double tap to activate.
So it starts with a 0 minutes, 0 temperature, all the rest of that. So I have to add a step.
Tovala. Add a cook. Navigate back. Steam. Combine steam with convection baking.
So I'm
Double
going
tap
to
to
choose that.
Navigate back. Steam. Combine steam with convection baking.
And it
Double tap
doesn't
to activate.
tell me if it's checked or not. So not good.
Convection bake. A fast, even heat. Broil high. Best for sear. Broil low. Best for searing, browning, or crisping with high heat.
And I like that
Double
it
tap
tells
activate.
you what each of those features and functionalities are good for.
200 degrees Fahrenheit.
So this one starts at 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Can I tap that? It doesn't say that I can double tap it. It's not a button. Nothing happens when I double tap it, so we're going to keep moving.
Temp. 0-15.
So temperature 015. It says temp 015. What it really means is the 200 was the temperature, 015 is time. But you'll notice the word temp comes after in the swipe order. Not very intuitive, should be one element.
Time.
See, the time came in the next swipe from the 015.
205 degrees Fahrenheit.
205 degrees Fahrenheit, but it was at 200, so what's going on there?
0-30.
And then 30 seconds instead of 15.
Add step. Button. Double tap to activate. 0-30. 205 degrees Fahrenheit.
So if I click that 235 or 205 degrees Fahrenheit, is it going to up my step? Nope.
0-30.
30? Nope.
Add step. Button.
I'm
Double
adding
tap
the
to
step.
activate. Tovala. Delete. Button. Cook. Button. 0-15. Total. Save cycle. 0-15. Total time. Cook. Button. Double tap 0:15. Total time.
So the total time now is 15 seconds.
Save cycle.
It's a
Double
save
tap to activate.
cycle
Add step. Double
or
tap
an
to
add
activate.
step. This is a terrible interface.
Navigate up button. Save changes. You made some changes to one of our recipes. Would you like to save it as your own?
And what I like is the fact that it says our recipes, even though I was trying to modify my own. So, and then they say save it as your own. So they're taking possession of my recipe that I was trying to create. Too bad I couldn't create it. All right, so I want to show you how you use the Tovala pre-prepared meals with the Tovala oven. Their meals are pretty decent. They're fairly good tasting. I mean, there's not one I've had that I didn't like. They're not spectacular, but they're really, quick, easy, decent meals. So, their trend is we'll take the time so you don't have to, and it really does work that way. It's quite easy, quite effective to do this. You're not going to get a bad meal. You're not going to get a gourmet meal, but you're going to get a decent meal. So I have two of their meals here. This one is a mac and cheese, and I only know that because I had to ask someone. There's no way to really identify this if you did not have a mobile device. But as a blind person, if you did not have a mobile device, or at least not one handy, you have no way of really knowing what's inside this box. So I'm going to show you. I just opened the lid of the box, and inside here it has a card and a little tiny flap holding the card down, and that has all the information on it, like nutritional value, what the ingredients are in this container. And this little flap here is really important to note because that little flap there tells you which is the side of the card that has a barcode on it. So all I would do now is take the ingredients out of the box, and you're going to see that there is a liquid and some crunchy bits and another liquid and some more crunchy bits. And if, again, you did not have a mobile device, you would not know what to do with those items. Do you put them on before you stick it in the oven? Do you put it in after you put it in the oven? It's there's no way to know that. So, for the first couple of meals, I did it without my mobile device, and I put everything on top and then stuck it in the oven. That does not really work very well because some of the crunchy bits burn, some of them don't. It's there's always at least one or two little extra dressing packages in there, and it's good to know if they go in beforehand or afterwards. So, when you're ordering your meals, you really need to pay attention to what the instructions are for cooking them, but it's really hard to get those. You absolutely need a mobile device to go with this if you're a blind person. You can scan this package and find out what's in it. Get all that same information that's on the card in the mobile app. And let me show you that this one actually has two containers of the same food. It's two of these foil packets, just like this, inside the same container. You take the shrink wrap off, you put whatever the crunchy bits in or the sauce in, and stick it in the oven. Nice and simple and straightforward. Let me show you now a second meal I have. This is one of their meat meals. I believe this one is salmon. We would open up the flap, which is resisting me quite nicely. See, again, we've got the same design for the card, and we literally just hit scan, bring the box. Not happy. Let's try it again here. There we go. That scanned the salmon, and it's now set the time and everything I need. It'll also set if it needs steam for that dish or not. So now the big drawback on these packages. So this one has a piece of meat, the piece of salmon. If this came in the box, I left this one specifically in here like this to show you how it should be in the box. You put that together again. So there's 4 little flaps on the bottom that kind of make a little, doesn't quite cover everything, but the piece of meat's showing through. What ended up happening for most of the meals I ordered was the piece of meat would fall out of the bottom of the container, and there would be 3 or 4 pieces of meat in the box for me. And I had no idea which one was the chicken, which one was the salmon, which one was the beef. There was no way to identify that as a blind person. I couldn't even use my mobile device to identify it. They always fell out, and even worse than that, every order I placed, and I went through 3 weeks of ordering, was missing a piece of meat of some sort. So we would get a chicken dish, and one of the pieces of chicken would be missing, so I had to kind of cover by getting my own chicken out of the freezer. These boxes are just terrible for this. They shouldn't do it this way. I really think they should try and package these more together. These boxes have a lot of wastage, tons of wastage. There's just cardboard everywhere, the little card. If they're going to make it so that you have to use the app to get the ingredients and all the rest of it, then just get the app, use the app. Don't bother putting all that extra packing material and the card, which is a glossy piece of advertising for the meal. It's mostly phrased in the way of advertising. It's not really truly nutritional information and, important things. It's very, very, advertising, glossy type information. So the problem is if you want to get their meals, you can't order a la carte. It has to be order and continue to order. You can cancel at any time, but it's a real pain in the neck to have to cancel and start and cancel and start. So, if you're going to commit to eating 3 or 4 of these a week, go ahead and, subscribe to it. If you think that you're, too busy to cook a meal some nights of the week and it's going to happen at least once or twice a week, get these packets. They're, you're not going to be disappointed in the meal, but, it's not your top gourmet meal that you could prepare for yourself. Not that we all prepare gourmet meals, but, it's a good choice, especially for somebody who doesn't like cooking. It's, foolproof for burning the food. You do not do that. It's foolproof for making sure the food is cooked properly. It's really a very simple, fast, easy, effective choice to use these meal packets with this device. So in conclusion, the Tovala is actually a very accessible device. It has some fallbacks. It has some some things that are not quite great. The app could use a lot of work, but it can be done. You can use it. It's not a cook like me's oven. It's not something that I'm going to use to bake my bread and cook my meals. It's for people who don't like to cook or people who don't know how to cook. Their meal kits will be great for anyone who doesn't want to cook their dinner or they're too tired at night. Get the meal kits. You're not going to get crappy food. You're going to get stuff that's actually, tastes good and is healthy for you. Unlike some of those other frozen dinners, this is actually healthy food. The portions are reasonable. They're not large. They're reasonable. So, if you're a big eater and you want to be a big eater, eat 2. This definitely gets a buy it, but, it's not for everyone. Thanks again for watching Know Before You Buy, and we'll see you at the next episode. Be sure to click like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back with more content shortly.